Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to episode 65 of the BJJ Brick Podcast. I'm Gary, and I'm here with Byron. How are you today, Byron?
Gary, I'm doing great. I had lost my voice a few days ago, but I feel good, and my voice is coming back, so here we are.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to record. It would have been me by myself, and it would probably be a very not listened to episode if it was just me.
Oh, Gary, you did done fine. That would probably have been our best episode ever. We do have a great episode today.
Today, definitely. First of all, we've, as we always have a quote of the week. We got from our guest last week, Dave Camarillo, has a quote of the week. And then also we have a snippet where we talk to 8 different people. We
actually have 6 athletes, and the 7th is the promoter of the event.
Yeah, and the event is Submission Series 902. It takes place in Nova Scotia, and it's January 23rd. But we'll get into that a little bit more in our regular show here. Yep.
I want to run down real quick, and I usually don't go through and do this, but I'll put little timestamps by their names. So if you are a fan of somebody, go look up their name and see when they start if you want to hear them in particular. But we've got 6 guys here: Kyle Sandford versus Jonathan Satava, Joel Jacquard versus Michael Tremblay, Scott Noss versus Kevin Tebow. And we do talk a little bit. Scott was going to be against Dana Dickinson, but Dana is out for an injury. So Dana is out from an injury, so Kevin has taken his place. So that's kind of the rundown of the show. Gary, you've been busy with wrestling season in full swing.
Yeah, my son's wrestling right now, so it seems like every weekend I'm totally tied up, but I'm enjoying it, so that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think your son's having a good time too.
He's having a good time. I'm having a good time. And just from watching, it makes my wrestling better.
It makes your wrestling better.
Helps my jiu-jitsu by making my wrestling better. So, hey, I can't complain.
There you go. Sounds good. Gary, if somebody wants a little bit more of the BJJ Brick podcast, we've got a couple of audiobooks they can download for free. All they need to do is swing by the Facebook page or the website. There's a little thing to enter in your name and email address. And every Tuesday we send out a little newsletter, mostly about the show that just came out. But at the bottom of that, there's a link to a Dropbox folder. There'll be a couple of little audiobooks in there.
Yeah, and we appreciate all you guys who sign up for it. I know last week when I was looking, one of our listeners, Mike Canfield, signed up for it. So he's going to be getting the audiobooks and a reminder every week there. So thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And it's always good to get some little bit more information out to you guys. They're like little mini shows, I guess. So.
Yeah, can't go wrong. It's going to help your game out a little bit. And we give out some for free.
And this is free as well.
So everything's free.
Yeah. Let's get on with our quote of the week. Hopefully you heard last week's interview with Dave Camarillo. He's nice enough to give us the quote this time, so here we go.
My quote is, train with everyone. I started that quote and really pushed it. I put on shirts and things like that because it has many meanings. The first meaning, I think when, and this is a lot in martial arts, but this is a lot in anything, where people try to take ownership over your progress. They take ownership over your where you train, things like that. There's a lot of, people need to remember that the culture of today for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is different than when it first started. It's adjusting. Some academies are still old school, but it used to be that you have one teacher and you should never learn outside your school. So I said train with everyone. Because if I did that, I would not be the martial artist I am in a technical sense. In reality, I would have never done judo because it was very restrictive. If we lived by that, AKA, for example, any MMA gym, would not exist. MMA itself would not exist.
Yeah,
it's a very closed-minded mindset, and I think it's an immature, very closed-minded mindset. It's one of the I would say few times that I'm very, very honest about it because it just hurts people. I've done seminars where people said they can't be included in the picture because they might go on social media and then I'll get, I don't know, hate emails or whatever. I don't know, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
And I've heard that a lot. And I've heard that in Australia. I've heard that, traveling. I've heard that all over the United States. I'd say it's shifting, and there's a lot of good people out there now. I have a saying, train with everyone. At the same time, of course, there's a responsibility of the student. I mean, loyalty is important,
Yeah.
I think having, loyalty in your academy and love for your academy and support for your academy. We have, like I said, my life now is better than it's ever been because there's so many good people around me that I say, hey, is it possible you come in and help? And we just need a lot. There's like 20 people that are helping us lifting, and we do holiday parties, and they're there setting things up. We do a tournament twice a year, the Jiu-Jitsu Grand Prix. We do it in our academy in Pleasanton. We have great parking here, that's why. But this place is full of people. There's 250 competitors, kids, everybody. The Rotolo twins came and did it a few times. They were here we do it first week in December and May. So it's twice a year. And you ask people to help, and they help. And I mean, that's what this whole thing's about. Like, it's that connection. So, train with everyone is I'm not going to sit there and tell someone, they go, oh, can I take a seminar from someone who's coming in? Yes. Please bring back the information. And when I sign, like I have a book, right? So I sign, people buy a book and they go, can you sign my book? I go, yes. And my message is always either learn from everyone or train with everyone. But at the same time, be a part of your academy. Like, help your academy. Running an academy is, I'll be honest, the most, I would say, rewarding, stressful thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
It's, and I think people need to respect that and understand that. And people do. It takes a tremendous amount of time and work. Especially the way we do things here. We instructor training, you got to make sure, you're basically putting on a show every day. And it's an awesome, for me, it's awesome. We're all smiling. We learn jiu-jitsu. We keep this thing positive every day. And I think being a student, it's important to have that loyalty because then you become really a part of that academy. And like I said, you really experience the academy. But at the same time, there are restricting instructors that just, to me, they just don't get it.
Yeah. You have loyalty because of what you're providing to your students, and you've earned that. Now, if you just tell guys,
right,
your students, you can't go over there, don't go over there. That's just,
yeah.
I don't want to pay you money to have you tell me what not to do. Like you said earlier, you like freedom. You like to be able to do what you want to do. If you want to go to a judo tournament and then go to a BJJ tournament, you want that ability.
Right.
You don't want to pay. I don't want to pay an instructor money and then say, no, you can't go train over there on a Sunday.
Or if you do, I'm going to make you feel bad about it or something like that. Now, look, like, for example, you said Sunday. Sunday's a perfect day. But, like, it is, like, for getting ready for a tournament, your teammates need to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, that also needs to be articulated and understood. Because if you go, oh, I want to train over here, well, then it's not just for you. You're not there for your academy.
Yeah.
But the blanket statement of, I never want you, I mean, I never say no. But if it's like, oh, well, we're having specialized competition training, then yeah, I want you here.
Yeah.
Oh, you're getting ready for this tournament? Get ready with your team. After the tournament, I don't care. I just bring it back. Because there's this saying that I also have is no jiu-jitsu instructor or martial arts instructor knows everything. It's just no way. I don't care what world titles you have or how famous you are or whatever. There's always something I don't know, and I learn. I look at it. I'm like, man. A lot of times it's very fundamental. I'm like, I should have known that.
I think jiu-jitsu
is a community of sharing. Is what it is.
I think we're fortunate most of the times in jiu-jitsu that instructors aren't able to even like give that perception that they know everything anymore because of our rolling and because the hard training that we do compared to other martial arts where you might look at your instructor and you've been told they know everything and they're the end to every question you have. And jiu-jitsu, we see that come out all the time. Like if you don't know something, it's going to be obvious you don't know the answer to the problem.
Right.
Well, there you have Dave Camarillo talking about train with everyone, train everywhere. And I think he makes some really, really good points. First of all, the instructor doesn't know everything. We're trying to become the best jiu-jitsu guys we can. The more people we train with, the better we're going to get. But I like it how we still talk about loyalty. You still have to have loyalty to your instructor, to your school. But you're going to have more loyalty, I think, if your instructor says, hey, I want you to be the best you can be. Go on out, go to this academy, go to this seminar, go to open mat, learn from other people, bring it back. And it's all about helping your teammates, helping your school, but your instructors basically treating you like a person, allowing you to make your own decisions. It's really for the best of yourself, which is going to in turn be the best of the school, but you're still loyal to your instructor, to your school. Like you said, if a tournament's coming up, you're there to help your teammates. I mean, your teammates are more important than in that time. You got to get them ready. You got to get them prepared. So, I thought that was awesome, and I've always been a big proponent of that, and I do like to hear that.
If you think, like he said, MMA really wouldn't even exist. If it wasn't okay for a wrestler to go into a kickboxing gym and a kickboxer to go into a jiu-jitsu gym and a jiu-jitsu guy to go learn some Muay Thai, if that wasn't okay, it would still be UFC 1.
Like you said, there would be no AKA. AKA is an MMA gym.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as MMA. There was jiu-jitsu, there was wrestling, there was boxing, there was taekwondo, there was Muay Thai. There was no mixture.
Yeah, I do feel bad for the people who cannot go to seminars outside their school. That's
I have seen. I like what he said about the social media.
Yeah.
I had people say, "Hey, please don't tag me," or I can't be in a picture. And I've had people say that, "Hey, don't tag me to say we rolled this week." Hey, no problem.
Yep. So Gary, the music is telling us we got to keep things rolling right along here.
We got the article of the week.
Yep, it is from GracieMag.com. 5 tips to fast track your jiu-jitsu evolution starting today.
And who doesn't want to fast track your jiu-jitsu evolution? We all want to.
Yeah, I guess it's good to get better quickly, but remember it is a marathon.
Yeah, it's not a sprint; it's a marathon.
So reading these, I don't think these tips are fine, but they may not fit everybody, and they don't fit me personally, all of them, perfectly. So, we'll read some tips for you here. We'll voice a little opinion, and you take what you want.
And just kind of what we were talking about before. What's good, what works for me may not work for Byron. So
it doesn't. Yeah, my Kimuras suck, and the Kimuras work great for you.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, first tip here is get a training partner who can be your barometer. So they recommend you get somebody who's kind of like you as far as their skill level, and we can engage whether you're getting better or worse. It's hard to judge whether they're getting better or well, but if you're about equal with somebody, and if 2 months later you're a lot better than them, really trust that what you're doing is working. It's one way to gauge yourself.
I will say, Byron, you're my barometer. I have always looked at that. We're pretty the same, pretty even, and. 1 week, one's the hammer, the next week the other's the hammer, and so
with Valentine's Day coming up, will you be my barometer? That sounds weird, man. Sounds
I'm gonna
weird.
Get you a card. Next one there is write down 10 mistakes you made the most over the week, and basically I think this is more not just dwelling on your mistakes, but almost a journal. He talks about creating a daily record. We've talked about journals before, and just write down even your positive stuff. Write down, mistakes you've made. Write down what you've learned, and a lot of times keeping that fresh in your head will help you become a better grappler. Yeah,
it recommends that you take 10 things that you're not doing well, and you write them down, and then you look at them as you walk into class. And I don't know if reading negative things is going to really help you. It'll help you remember. Maybe you are turning your back too much, and you write that down. That could help you out. But if I got armbarred 3 times last week, I may not. Maybe it's better if I forget that and have more confidence going in there and when I grapple. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, I think it can work for some people. I'm the same way. If I have too many negative thoughts in my head, it's I try to be positive, and I work a little more on my strength than I do on my weaknesses.
Yeah.
I try to have really good strengths, and But everybody's different there.
Yep. Number 3 tip here is show up early. I like that, especially if you're able to get on the mat early. There's no point in showing up early and just sitting there watching the kids' class. But if you can get on there and get warmed up or grab somebody, that's really good.
Yeah. Or even stay late, I guess, could go into that.
That's what I usually end up doing.
Yeah, because a lot of times you show up early, the kids' class is going on.
It's hard for me to show up early, I guess.
Yeah. 4, be curious. And I think this is awesome. Don't be afraid to ask questions of your teacher. Don't be afraid to ask questions to the more experienced grapplers. You will get some great tips from different people. So and you'll make friends.
Yeah, and you've got to learn when the correct time to ask questions is, and not be annoying with them.
Yeah.
And the tone of your voice.
Because I know we've all had the people, as instructors showing a Kimura. And afterwards, you're like, okay, if this guy comes at me with a knife, make your question pertinent too.
Yeah, yeah, and don't. Obviously, they're showing a technique. They're not able to show you every what if situation to the technique. But if you have one that might actually be relevant, don't just ask questions to hear yourself talk.
Yeah. And also, 4 goes with number 3: show up early or stay late. So definitely, if you do have some questions, maybe come early or stay late and work on what your question was.
The 5th one here is watch more tournament DVDs, which that can help, but I don't know if that's one of the biggest things, especially for a beginner student.
Yeah, so a lot of times a beginner student can't see what's happening, and the scrambles and the transitions are very quick, and you don't really see the setup.
And if you're a white belt or a blue belt, you should probably be watching that level of competition footage if you want to watch some and see what those guys are doing. And there's not a lot of white belt DVDs out there that have a white belt competing. Yeah. But, the stuff that black belt level will work, but whether you could get it to work for you or not is maybe part of the issue.
And when they're saying tournament DVDs, they don't mean professional wrestling.
What do they mean?
Like cage matches and stuff like that. Yeah, so got to make sure you get the right ones.
Yeah, don't just go order any random tournament DVDs. I would also throw in, if I'm going to throw one in, I would say try to, make friends with a mentor that could help you. And everybody who has got a color belt has certain white belts that they like to roll with more than other white belts. If you're one of those white belts that they like to roll with, no fault of anybody's, but they're more likely to help you out there. I remember some of their games better, and I can remember what they're going to work on, and that's good. But just try to be.
And most of the upper belts do like to mentor. I know Byron's the same way. I like to have these young guys I'm mentoring, and it's just neat to just see the smiles on their face when something clicked, or next thing you know they're beating you, and you're like, man, shouldn't have been his mentor. But no, I'm just kidding. But it is really nice when you're people will like to mentor you if you come in with a great attitude.
Yep. I think that about wraps up the article. We'll put a link to it in the show notes if you want to read everything. It's on GracieMag.com. Before we get to all of our interviews, we'd like to play a little clip here by our friend Roy Marsh to help you out with your guillotines.
So I'm kind of a purist as far as guillotines go. I don't like to do these fancy grips, like a rear naked choke grip with the guillotine, or reverse gable grips. My feeling is if I can feed my arm that far through, I could have just stopped earlier and gotten the guillotine. So I tend to like to barely have my hand through. Ideally, where my wrist and my thumb meet is where I like to have directly under his neck. Makes it harder for him to grab onto my wrist and defend, or my hand and defend, and it's this harder part of my arm versus my forearm. So in this case, when I'm basically choking right under his neck, it doesn't matter to me whether it's an arm in or arm out. I used to try to do arm in when I was a white belt and blue belt, and I'd try to push my arm all the way through, and it would really never work because it's kind of a half anaconda, half guillotine. But once I started really focusing on being directly under the neck, using the wrist bone to choke him, it doesn't matter to me. The mechanics are still the same. I'm not pulling. I'm forcing his head to look back at himself. So regardless of whether his arm is there or not, the choke is still going to work.
That was our friend Roy Marsh giving you a tip about hand placement with your guillotine attacks, arm in or arm out. It doesn't matter. He likes to, and there's different people do it different ways, but he's really recommending right where the wrist meets your thumb, and that's a hard place to put it on somebody's neck.
And I tell you, with all these tips Roy has been giving us for the last couple of weeks, there's some stranglers out there if they've been listening, because Roy's been giving us some great tips, some great Going to be some very good guillotine guys out there.
Yeah, and if you want more, go to the show notes, and there's a link there, and it goes to a seminar he put on just about guillotines, and that somebody filmed it, and they put it up there, and you can support him. I think it's $20. Support him and help him out a little bit there, and learn more about your guillotines. Tighten those up. Okay, Gary, let's get on with our interviews. We're going to go back-to-back on these. We'll start off with Cat Clark. He's the promoter, and then we'll get into the athletes. So, it'll go Kyle Sandford, and then right after that will be Jonathan Satava, and then so those guys will be competing. And then it's kind of cool to hear them talk, and then the next guy who's going to compete with will also be talking about it. So that's kind of fun. Like I said, I'll put some timestamps on there if that's going to help you out find where you want to listen to. Should make it a little easier for you, but otherwise, they're all great interviews. They're all had a really good time talking with everybody, and we don't just talk about them. We talk about jiu-jitsu, and they're pretty good. They're pretty fun. So I'm looking forward to the event, January 23rd in Nova Scotia. Check out their Facebook page. If you just type in Submission Series 902, it'll pop right up, or just go. I'll put a link to that as well on the show notes.
Let's get to it.
All right.
He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
He taught Steven Seagal how to do that kick. He was once robbed at gunpoint. He somehow made $200. Some people have gotten cauliflower ear just by listening to him talk. In a survival situation, he can start fire by rubbing two white belts together.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJ Brick podcast. Stay sweaty, my friends.
This first interview is Cat Clark, and he's going to introduce you to Submission Series 902.
So it's Submission Series 902, Canada's first ever Jiu-Jitsu and grappling event. It's internationally headlined by Marcelo Garcia's Jonathan Satava. That's his kind of prodigy. They call him Mini Marcelo, and he's taking on one of our kind of legends and superstars out here on the east coast of Canada, Kyle Sandford, along with some other heavy hitters named Alessandro Roman Camargo out of Toronto, who's won a lot of different competitions in the IBJJF, purple and brown belt level. And then we also have him taking on another one of our guys here on the east coast, Josh Presley, who again is a very, very highly respected purple belt and brown belt as well. So, and then we were also flying in Michael Tremblay from Ottawa, who's out of the Brazilian top team with Fabio Holanda. He'll be taking on Joel Jacquard out of Halifax. So we have some heavy hitters on that. That's in the actual main card, and then we have 5 more fights, including a secret match as well. And it'll be 5 matches and the 3 no-gi matches to make it a total of 8. And this, again, is Canada's first ever attempt at this. There's been other submission-only events, obviously, but none of this nature. And certainly none of this with a fight card like this. And it's only going to get bigger and better from here. And it's obviously to put the east coast of Canada and Canada in general, the jiu-jitsu world, kind of on the map and to show that what we're capable of here, and to kind of show the love and the lifestyle of the jiu-jitsu and just kind of share the love. That's kind of what it's all about. So, if anybody's looking for some information, it's the website's under construction now. It's going to be subseries.ca. But we also we're on Twitter at subseries902, under Facebook, Submission Series 902, and then Instagram, it's submission_series_902. So, those are the available places, and tickets are online at ticketpro.ca.
Cool. And it's January 23rd. That's at 6:30.
January 23rd. Yeah, the doors open at 6 o'clock, and the first fight will start at about 10 after 7.
Sounds like a good time.
That's Eastern time.
If, I'm not really anywhere near Canada right now, am I going to be able to watch this?
Well, here's the deal with this. We're working on kind of a live stream, but the problem is we kind of have a negotiations in with a TV station at the moment. So the plan is to have the TV station actually film this live in HD and then release this on pay-per-view about a month later in a 3-part miniseries. So that's kind of the idea, and then everything will be uploaded, obviously, on YouTube for free about a week later. But in regards to a live stream, at this point, no. what we're going to do. We just didn't feel like we're going to be filming it in HD.
Yeah.
We'd rather not give a viewer the first view at our product in kind of a not so great live stream. So, we're going to give it to everybody, and it's going to be free on pay-per-view. It's not going to be a cost or anything. So, it will be free on pay-per-view, and it'll be free online as well. So,
what do you mean?
Month after.
Free on pay-per-view, is that just they'll be able to go to a website and stream it there, or how do they?
It'll be on demand.
I got you. That's awesome. That's really cool. And you're going to take your time and edit the video and make it more of a. I think if you did it live, it'd be nice, but it won't be as clean cut and it won't look as professional, right? So doing this, having some delay, you get to have a high quality.
The whole idea is if you're offering the product to a first time, you look at Copa Podio that just happened, it's a wonderful product. And Jonathan, our main event, he went down there as a brown belt, and he was the only, him and Herbo Santos went down there as brown belts and competed with all these guys. But, a lot of people paid for the stream, and the stream didn't work for the majority of the fight. And to me, that's, again, it's about exceeding expectations, not lowering them. So the whole idea is, I don't want to set people up for a bad stream and they see the bad stream and then they never come back. The whole idea is to let them see it in HD first, and then they see the product and there's money put into it, there's passion put into it, and they know it's going to be done right.
That sounds good. I think it's a smart move. What are the rules for the matches, both gi and no gi?
Yeah, the rules are actually the same for gi and no gi. They're all 15-minute fights, straight time, and it's IBJJF black belt rules. So it's everything goes pretty much everything other than the heel hooks and reaping and neck cranks, anything like that. We're trying to build a successful product here. We're not about getting, letting guys get hurt. And, there's very few guys in the jiu-jitsu community that really enjoy reaping other people's knees. And there's not a ton of guys that really have a lot of time for that kind of stuff, And, everybody's got careers, and whether it's in jiu-jitsu or other life. And the whole idea is to grow the sport together and, again, show the passion and love that everybody has. And it's, in my opinion, it doesn't really have a place in the sport.
Cool. Well, I'm excited for the event. What got you started on wanting to do this?
Well, I actually have done events for quite a long time, based out of Toronto. Kind of ran my own company up there doing luxury bachelor and bachelorette parties and that kind of thing, and was a tour director and took people on trips around the world, and kind of always had a passion for events. And then after moving back home here to Nova Scotia and got inclined with Team Titans here, and the local guys have been so good to me, kind of helping me kind of transition my life into jiu-jitsu. It's become really my life and my lifestyle, and you see all these guys have become such good friends of mine. They put so much passion. I'm looking at a guy right here sitting on the gym coming back from a knee injury, sweating it out on the bike, just working all day, and then, sitting here trying to come back from injury so he can fight again, and that's what it's about, showing these guys who put the heart and soul into it to, get them a little more respect and notoriety around here, so that's kind of what it's about. Organization and events are kind of my thing, and fighting is kind of theirs. And obviously, I'm close to purple belt myself, and I train every day and love being around the guys and the girls and the kids that train. So it's an avenue where we can kind of explore and show our sport and show the love everybody has for it.
Cool. What is the Submission Series 902? What does 902 mean?
Yeah, the 902 is actually Nova Scotia's area code, believe it or not. And PEI's area code, too. I don't want to leave those guys out, Prince Edward Island. But, it's kind of our area code. And the idea of Submission Series 902 is we're going to have 3 events live here next year in Nova Scotia, Canada. And our next event is going to be headlined by Dylan Denis out of Marcelo Garcia. He's also a brown belt, and he just won the Rickson Gracie Cup over in Japan. And we also have other guys like Munchie from Marcelo's down there, and then we have guys competing down here like Josh Wincy, and then Canadian guys like Jason Gagnon and Pat Carroll, and there's a lot of guys they're going to be on the next card to make it exciting, and that's the whole idea, to grow the product together. It's not a one-trick pony, so it's a Submission Series 902, and that kind of represents the small on the East Coast, and And the whole idea maybe is to bring it on the road. So if we need to bring it on the road, you go to Toronto, it becomes Submission Series 416, and or wherever you happen to end up. So that could be the idea, but we're focusing on these ones and to get these off the ground and go from there. We don't want to get too greedy like Dana.
That's funny. Yeah, it seems like you're in it. You love jiu-jitsu. You want to see these awesome matches. You train with a lot of these guys, and you want to bring in some really good talent for them to compete with, and make a show of it. It sounds like a really good time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Those kind words. That's what it's about. So many people complain in life, and I catch myself doing it all the time. You complain about a ton of things, but if you're going to complain about it, you better damn well have something to do to change it, So it's if there's no product out here and we're working so hard, we're going to make something out here. So if no one else in Canada is willing to put up the money and the time and effort to do it, then we're going to do it, and we're going to put it on the map, and we're going to do it right. And we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. We're the real deal, and we're going to make this work. And we're going to compete with some big names in the submission only world. And we're certainly the biggest in Canada and the only one in Canada at this point, and we'll continue to be.
Cool. How did you choose the 15-minute rounds?
Well, it's funny because submission only, a lot of black belts especially, they're used to 15 minutes is really when you just kind of get warmed up, to be honest. Myself, jiu-jitsu, my first match or second roll of the nights, especially the first or second, I'm just kind of getting going. Like I'm not warm, my muscles aren't warm, and that kind of thing. So that's all you hear. A lot of higher black belts or brown belts or purple belts even talk about that. When they're training for these. That 15 to 20 minute mark is very important because at that 20 minute mark, a lot of guys start getting tired. So, at the 10 to 12 to 15 minute mark, that's when it becomes exciting. So, you could have made it 20 to 25 minutes, but at this first kind of crack at this here, you don't want people to if one match is kind of a stall fest, and then you don't want people to get bored. So 15 minutes, and then you go on to the next one, and then you get the next guys rolling. So it was kind of one of those things, these guys are high-level athletes, but, we're gonna keep it at 15 minutes for now, and then eventually maybe move up to 20.
Sounds good. Well, I'm looking forward to it. You said January
23rd, 2015, live from New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, Canada. And it's going to be at Glasgow Square. And again, everything will be uploaded within probably 2 or 3 days. All the matches will be up on YouTube for free. And then again, the pay-per-view will be live for free across Canada and the U.S. on demand.
The TV network on demand. That's awesome. All right. Well, it was a pleasure talking with you. And now we're gonna get some of the athletes on here and talk to them about their matches, which is exciting.
Excellent. I appreciate the time. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Thank you, Kat. All right, guys, we have Kyle Sandford on the phone here. How you doing today, Kyle?
Great. How about you?
I'm doing really good. Looking forward to seeing you compete in the Submission Series 902 coming up here.
It's going to be a local. It's going to be the first time. I don't know if it's the first time in Canada. It may be, but it's definitely the first time in the East here in Nova Scotia. It's going to be a submission only card, similar to Metamoris or the other, all the other ones that are gaining popularity. It's being put on by Cat Clark, another BJJ guy, local BJJ guy, and he just decided to get a bunch of local talent together and match them up against some top talent from around Canada and the U.S. and I think eventually the world is his goal, and just have a bunch of put a card together, a bunch of guys, match them up sub only. So there's some gi matches and some no-gi matches.
Cool. Sounds really good. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I've been training BJJ for a long time. I think I started in 96, I believe.
Cool.
And, it's been a long. A lot of the guys even at my gym don't know that because I've had two knee surgeries, 2 ACL replacements, and just the nature of the game, having a lot of getting older and having a lot of injuries. But I started in 96 with a couple guys, with Kevin Taylor and Peter Martell, and a couple other guys that were just training locally, and we kept. When I met Kevin, he'd already been down to Renzo's to visit once, because at the time Renzo was the closest to us anyway. He was the closest Gracie. He's on the East Coast. He had to go down to New York, but so that's still a probably 14-hour drive or so for us. But we did it, and Kevin had already been there once. We went down there and we started training with Renzo a bit. And we didn't get down there a lot, but we had all those tapes and VHS tapes. That's how long ago it was. And so that's we decided to stick with Renzo and get graded under Renzo and get down there as much as we could and just train our asses off when we're here and.
What is your belt rank?
I got a black belt from Renzo. Actually, he just gave it to me in July when I was down there. Down there for the New York Open.
And that is cool.
I saw him after that. Yeah, so that was huge for me because I've been training for, I basically had my brown belt almost 7 years. So
what team are you fighting?
Guys that have been training. Sorry, what was that?
What team are you fighting under?
Oh, I'm fighting under. I fight under Titans BJJ. The guys go by Titans BJJ Taylor Gang for Kevin Taylor, and also of course Renzo Gracie. I try to represent Renzo as much as I can.
Yeah,
in my fight. Yeah,
that's cool. You said you've been training since 1996. How old are you?
37.
37. Getting in there doing a submission only fight. That's awesome.
Sorry, I still feel like I can do it.
Yeah,
compete with these guys. So
I'm 35, and I feel like the 35 version of myself would beat the 34 version of myself. Like I'm getting better. I'm getting a little slower, and I don't heal up as fast, but I'm getting better.
Yeah, I find you train a little smarter too. When you have to when you get older.
Yeah,
you realize recovery times are longer and there's a lot of things that change, but I think I feel pretty good coming in here. There's a lot of top caliber guys here, and I feel good.
Could you give us a little?
I feel good when I train against them. So
that's good. Could you give us a little idea of some of your competition history?
Yeah, it's kind of scattered. Just BJJ or
anything, any combat
MMA,
sport, I guess.
BJJ.
Yeah.
Well, I did. I mean, in '97, that's how long ago it was. It was '97. They had the first. I guess they called it national, but it was the Canadian Open. And some of the hardcore old school BJJ guys in Canada will remember that because it was a Hickson Gracie seminar. Hickson was there, and it was a big deal. It was a huge tournament, and Carlos Newton was there, fought in the advanced division. I actually got triangled by him in the Open.
Oh, that's cool.
I was a blue belt. It was pretty cool. Like there was a lot of top guys there. Mark Boychuk was there. He was. I think he was a blue at the time. I can't remember, but he was fairly new at it too. He did well. So that was like my first tournament. I actually won my division that year, which was a big deal because it was my first jiu-jitsu tournament, and that's when I kind of realized, like, I'm better at this than I was at Taekwondo, so I'm going to stick with this. And I was still a kid, so I was pretty excited about it. And then I did a few tournaments in Canada, and I did a few in the States. Actually, I did. They used to have the skirmish in Maine. I don't know if they still have it. And actually, Kenny Florian, I fought him a few times at that tournament. He was, I think, a blue belt at the time too. So we were both fairly new at it. And trying to think, I've done a few. I'm on NAGA. I think the first NAGA North American Championships, and that was like probably near '99 or 2000.
Yeah.
Then I kind of got away from competition a bit. Fought locally, but I got away from traveling. Just didn't have the money, and then I got into MMA, kind of early 2000s. I think 2003 or 4. And actually, I can't remember what year it was, but anyway, early 2000s. I started doing some MMA in Montreal because it wasn't legal here. Didn't have it. I don't think it actually was legal in any province except for Quebec. So we had to travel there. Shane Rice, actually, who's a Hickson Gracie black belt now, he a good friend of mine. He got me a fight there because he had a fight there, and then got me hooked up there and I had 5 fights with the organization with TKO. It was UCC and then TKO, and then blew my knee out and had surgery on that, and was rehabbing that, and probably about 8 months rehabbing that one, blew the other one out.
Oh,
so
man.
that kind of, that took a big chunk of time. So I always tell people I've been training since doing jiu-jitsu since '96, but there's been some gaps of year here and year and a half here, and from injuries. But I've always wanted to get back into it. So that's how you know you love it. You just want to get back to it as soon as you can. So
yeah.
And then I guess recently, just to finish answering it, recently I did Worlds 2010. I did Worlds 2000, or actually this year, 2014. I just did Worlds. Did the New York Open this year. Passed it to the Summer Open. And that was the first time I decided to try a master division, just because there was basically the same. I think there was the same amount of people in the adult master. So I went master 1, and that was good. It was a good time. It was nice fighting guys at in my age category.
Yeah,
a little below it anyway, but yeah.
So generally speaking, how did you do at these tournaments?
I didn't feel like I did bad. I didn't get squashed by any means. I actually in the 2010 Worlds, which is funny because I didn't realize this till I really started paying attention to the top level jiu-jitsu guys. But 2010, I won my first match by armbar, and then my second match, I actually fought Yuri Samos, by a different name then, and I didn't know at the time. This is at brown belt, and I didn't know who he was at the time. And he was still an up and comer, and I think he tried to throw me. And of course the guys on my team knew who he was, but because they follow that stuff more than me.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell me, till after, like, oh, that guy's really good.
Yeah, no kidding.
so anyway, so he tried to throw me, and I think I ended up in his guard. He tried to throw me, and I based out, and then I was in his guard for the whole match. And I think he got an advantage, and it was, from what I remember, it was a questionable advantage. It was just a matter of me trying to pass, and I think I put my butt on the ground for a second, and they gave an advantage. And so I think there was about 30 seconds left, and I said, "Oh no, I'm down an advantage. She's just going to hold me here." And I busted for an ankle lock,
yeah.
And my foot went across his hip.
Oh
and
no!
I got DQ'd. So that kind of sucked getting DQ'd, but I found, I felt great against him, and when the match was over, he's a lot bigger now too.
He's big.
Divisions, but yeah, he like when I fought him, he must have been a kid, because now he's just like, he went up like 3 divisions or something. Anyway, so so that was that. This year didn't do great. I lost some points, I think, in advantages or something. My first match, which sucks. You go all that way. But I mean, when I lose points, I don't get too frustrated.
Yeah.
Just because I've never been big on points. Like, I probably should be if I'm going to go all the way to California and fight. But I just I felt good. Like, I felt strong. I didn't feel like the guy was better than me or stronger than me. He just I just made a mistake and get down advantage or down a couple advantages, whatever. And same thing with the New York Open. New York Open, I fought Phil, actually, Marcelo student, Phil Belmont, I think his name right. Anyway, yeah, and he's a super nice guy. I got to the tournament all by myself, and he came down out of the stands, and he said, "Oh, you're my first match," and which is really, really nice, really, really cool. He came down, and he was, said, "Yeah, I heard you're an old school Henzo guy," and we ended up first match, and he beat me by advantages. I think it was 3-1 on advantages. And then the thing I don't like about the tournaments, I mean, is you can lose just through single elimination, and you could lose against the guy who wins the division. There could be 30 guys in your division. It doesn't mean you're 30th.
Yeah.
You could have been second.
Yeah, that's always a tough break.
That's just the way it is. Everybody. Yeah, that's just the way it is. I mean, they can't do round robin. The things would take a week. So yeah, it's just the way it is. And that's. But the good thing that I liked about the New York Open was that when the division was over, so I ended up getting third. Obviously, I didn't didn't win, so I didn't win third. I just got it because there was 4 guys in the division. But then I did the Open, and Phil didn't do the Open. And in the Open, I got to fight the other 2 guys that were into my division.
Yeah.
And I beat both of them, like one by submission and one by points. So that made me feel a lot better because I felt like I hadn't won in a while.
Yeah.
And also just to know where you actually sit in the division is kind of cool. So I tell myself mentally, I got second, even though.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting second. I ended up getting second in the Open. So that was
that's cool.
That was.
Yeah. So who? This is coming up on January 23rd here. Who's your guy? Who are you competing against?
It's Jonathan Satava. I'm thinking I'm pronouncing it right. I've always said Satava, and people started saying Satava. I don't know if you would know, but anyway.
I think you're right.
Marcelo, you think I'm right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So anyway, yeah, he's a guy. I mean, I see videos of him all the time on. I see videos of him doing interviews, and he won Nogi World. He's a Marcelo student, and apparently he's from the videos I watched and the people I talked to, he's really, even when he went to the school before he even trained with Marcelo, he was really mimicking his style. So which is obviously an awesome style. So he's got he's got his game, and it's a game that's proven, and Marcelo's beat a lot of top guys, and he's a young guy. He's just training every day and teaching and keeping in shape and all the stuff I was doing when I was 25.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it should be good. I mean, it's looking forward to it. I'm still always looking to test myself, and you see these guys and you wonder like, I wonder how I do against that guy. I wonder how I do against that guy. You never know, but.
Well, that's cool. Is your match gi or no gi?
It's actually no gi.
No gi?
Which I think is probably better for him because I use my grips a lot in gi. Like I'm pretty known for getting pretty good grips and having good grip strength and the whole long time. But I whatever. I just said I do whatever, and they kind of I don't know who wanted no gi, but. I think no gi too is tends to be better for the spectators too.
Yeah.
I think generally, I mean, just because of the grips, I mean, you can get a grip and you can stall easier. You can you can see what's going on. Pace is a little better, I find, with no gi. But
cool.
So that's what it is. No gi submission only. So. How
would you describe your style?
Well, my style's changed a bit. Like I've gone through a few changes in my jiu-jitsu career, but I'm generally a top guy. I mean, I've always been just a top pressure. Like I've got, I'm not fancy. I use a lot of old school and a lot of basics and just and lots of pressure, not a lot of space. Good at framing guys out and keeping my base and just working, working the small, tight little things and getting my positions and going for submissions. It's just kind of a lot of guys at the gym describe it as crushing, but I don't feel it's crushing. But it's
the guy on top never thinks it's as crushing as the guy on the bottom, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because a lot of them don't know I ever had a guard game, but I used to from I'd say, from when I started. First time when I learned what you could do from guard, so probably 96, 97 until I started MMA. Basically, I was always a guard player. Like I didn't even bother trying to do any stand up. I was just pull guard. And guys that I train with now don't even believe me. Like I've been starting to do a lot lately, but just to work it. But when I started MMA, I just kind of abandoned. I abandoned the pulling guard because it's obviously a lot of guys lose decisions from being on their back and not being able to pull off a submission. So I just decided to start doing a lot of wrestling. So I was doing a lot of wrestling and a lot of top game, and that kind of changed my style. But now I'm kind of going back to guard. So I think it's really kind of completed it because I didn't really have a top game, and then I forced myself to have a top game, and now I'm going back to the bottom a bit and kind of remembering a lot of cool stuff that used to work, a lot of bread and butter techniques that used to work every time. So,
That's cool.
Yeah, I think it's kind of completed my game. But I think generally, if you ask most people, I'm a top guy. But I'll work with it. I work with whatever's given.
You said earlier that you don't really, when you do a tournament, you kind of, maybe to your own disadvantage, you don't always think about the points. You're going. So how are you training anything differently to get ready for this than you would any regular tournament? Or do you always just train for the submission?
Not really, because I apparently have not been training correctly for other tournaments. So this is probably that I've been training for those tournaments. Probably how I should be training for sub only tournaments. But yeah, I just find it more. I find it more stressful. Like when there's points involved, because then I find it changes my game. Because a lot of people say that. Like if you're down an advantage, especially like if the guy didn't actually get a point but he got an advantage, it plays with you mentally, because then you're like, oh well, I got to get that back, and I might. I don't know. I don't know if it puts pressure on you or what it does, but it can really mess with you when you kind of have a game plan and then something happens and all of a sudden you're down a couple points, and then all of a sudden it's like, I got to get those points back or I got to lose. You can kind of stop thinking about the submission. You think, I got to get those points back or I got to submit one or the other. And I don't know, it just plays with you a little bit. But it hasn't changed much. I mean, I'm changing little things. I'm obviously doing a lot of getting a lot of guys to, we got a few guys around here that are big Marcelo fans that have been, that have been doing a lot of Marcelo, a lot of X and a lot of single leg X and a lot of 2-on-1, just a lot of the same stuff that he's going to do. And he's just watching his video. He said exactly what I've said to people. His game is his game, and that's basically what it's going to be. I mean, I'll probably have a little more room in mind, but to adjust. But he's just going to do what he's always done, and he's obviously had lots of success at it. He's just going to try to. He's just going to try to push his game on me and work his game, and I'm going to try to do the same.
Well, cool. I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be. It's going to be. You're the main event.
It's the main event. Yeah,
that's going to be awesome.
He asked me to do it. Said main event, and he told me who it was. I didn't think about it. I just I didn't hesitate. I said, "Yeah, let's do it."
That is awesome. I love the competitive spirit.
To look forward to, and yeah.
All right. Well, train hard, my friend. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Good luck.
Okay. You too. Thanks a lot.
All right, my friends. It's a pleasure to have John Satava here on the podcast. John, you're competing in the Submission Series 902 coming up here in January 23rd.
That's correct. I'm stoked for it.
All right. We're excited to see you up at the tournament, or I guess not tournament, at the Submission Series. Hey, Jonathan, if somebody doesn't know haven't seen you grapple yet, or they don't know who you are yet, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Jonathan Satava, obviously. I train and teach at the Marcelo Garcia Academy in New York City. I'm 25 years old. I'm brown belt, trying to do my best that I can in this sport and make a living and hopefully a little bit of a name. And that's pretty much a good summary for now.
How'd you end up at Marcelo Garcia's Academy?
So I always played similar to Marcelo, even before I trained under him officially, and it's just kind of something that I sought out once I decided that I wanted to train full time. I'm from Long Island, so the commute into the city isn't that far. So once I knew I wanted to kind of pursue this, like my life's ambition, I just took a train to New York City, took a class there, and at a couple other places, and immediately knew that Marcelo's gym was the right spot for me. So, rest is history for now.
That's cool. Everyone is a fan of Marcelo Garcia. Do you remember what it was like when you first started training over there? Like, was it the same? Like, you get to play basketball with Michael Jordan? Was it like that?
Man, it was just like that, and even more so because he's so nice and he's so giving too. That's one thing that I can say about Marcelo, aside from his incredible jiu-jitsu, is how much he gives to the guys who really show and really make an effort, and also how much he believes in us. So just to have like training with my idol was amazing enough to begin with, but then to have him be, you know, such a supportive coach and mentor is just, you know, even more incredible.
Cool. How long have you been training at the Marcelo Garcia's school?
A good question. I lose track of time sometimes. I think it's been 4 years now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And what kind of style do you have to your game?
Pretty much what he does, I do. So do a lot of X guard and taking the back and I like to pass like from the half guard position and these types of things. You know, nothing. I don't deviate too far from his game that much.
Is that common at that school, or do people have just totally different games, or does everybody kind of gravitate towards what he's doing?
It's funny. I think everybody, because, you know, you might as well take advantage of it, being on the mat with him and taking his classes. I think everybody at least has one piece of his game.
Yeah,
I would say. But that being said, like more recently, I'd say over the past like year or two, more and more people have been coming from, I guess, like different camps originally or different schools originally with completely different styles. And it's really been to our benefit. And Marcelo has taken, you know, really well to it and has tried to facilitate those styles as well within his teachings, and by making it more like principle based as opposed to just like, okay, this is my move, you do it. So he's really evolved in that way as a coach. And so yeah, guys like, you know, Gianni Grippo, Marcos, Dylan, Mateos too. They don't really play like Marcelo style to the T, whereas like me, Munch, Joel, and some of the other guys were more like Marcelo style. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's good to have the variety. And like you said, why would you not take at least a part of his game if he's there teaching it? You'd be crazy not to try to absorb what he's gonna show every day. But you've got you have a good variety of people in the gym with different styles as well. So that's cool.
For sure, we get to like have like see a lot of different styles of training more recently. And, you know, with Bernardo too, with Jacquard and Paul also. So it's like it's really I think we really have one of the best gyms in the world. Not that I'm biased or anything, but
you teach over there too?
I do. I teach a couple classes a week on the schedule, and also try to do as many privates as I can to support myself. You know. Yeah.
How does teaching affect what you're able to do as far as training and getting better yourself?
I like to teach. So for me, teaching is not like something that's a burden in general, but sometimes it sucks having to get up early in the morning to teach like a 7 a.m. class or a private really early. But you know, I gotta eat, so I have to do it. But once I get there, once I'm teaching it, like it's all fun, and I'm really engaged with whatever I'm doing, or I try to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll drag my feet there, but once I'm there, I'm happy.
It seems like it'd be a fun place to train. You've got Marcelo Garcia, Bernardo Faria. You all seem like guys that go and you have a good time. Yeah, you train amazingly hard and world-class athletes, but it seems like you guys are having a good time.
Yeah, I think that's like a big secret. Like, I understand like the whole like grind mentality or whatever, and I guess like it is a grind in some ways, but like if you're not enjoying it, man, I don't want to do that. Like if I'm not enjoying something, like I might as well go back to school, graduate, and get like a run-of-the-mill job and make more money and at least enjoy my off time. But if I'm gonna choose something, then I want to choose something that I'm gonna enjoy. You know, that's the whole point of this. So I like that a lot of guys in our gym share that same philosophy, you know?
Yeah, I like it. You could go back and enjoy your off time, but you're able to enjoy your on time, and your off time is just a bonus, you know? That's cool.
Exactly.
You're doing what you love to do.
For sure.
Could you tell us a little bit about your competition history?
Yeah, sure. As far as like some Nogi stuff this year. So this year I won Nogi 10 AMs and the absolute division. Me and Dylan closed that out both times at the brown belt division middleweight, and like I said, the absolute. And then we went to California a week later for Nogi World, and him and I closed our division again. I didn't fight the absolute; it wasn't my turn this time. But yeah, so Nogi has been pretty kind to me this year so far. So hoping to carry that into this event. Let's see what else. I guess I've won Gi Pan Ams as a brown belt as well. Again, Dylan and I closing out. Won the trials to go to Abu Dhabi and taken second in the actual Abu Dhabi Pro. And yeah, so this year's been pretty good for me. So I'm just hoping it goes that way. Got invited to Coca-Cola, was a good learning experience there. Again, that was in the Gi. Was able to win a match, not the place or anything like that. It was a little disappointing, but everybody there is top notch.
Yeah.
Black belts. I was one of the few brown belts there, so good learning experience and took a lot away from that.
Yeah, you're a busy guy. Do you prefer gi or no gi?
I prefer no gi. It's funny. A lot of the guys at the academy have teased me about that. I started doing only no gi at a club at my university, and so I've been doing it longer. And also, just in general, I prefer to wrestle rather than do judo. So,
yeah.
Like, if you want to say, like, okay, I like to play on top and I like to play on bottom, it's the same in both, but the stand-up is so lopsided. Like, I really prefer to wrestle than do judo. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. The with the gi, the wrestling it changes dramatically. Without the gi,
yeah.
you're not wrestling. You're not trying to score a takedown and pin the guy, but it's still no-gi. A lot of that wrestling works, as long as you're able to change make a few tweaks. But with that gi on, you can't really wrestle as well.
Yeah, one collar grip stops a lot of your shots,
Yeah.
And so it changes the game differently. And I know this fight's submission only, but at the same time, it's good to have that as a tool in your arsenal or whatever, the wrestling, to let you put the fight where you want to put it, should you want to put it there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So this, you hinted, this is submission only. Is your match, is it gi or no gi?
It's no gi, yeah.
Okay. And it's 15 minutes long. Have you ever done it like a submission only match or a longer match?
I've done a submission only tournament as a blue belt it was an interesting thought. I actually really liked it. It was like a round robin format. So you fought everybody in your division, but there was a time limit. And if you submitted the guy, it was worth 2 points. If you didn't submit the guy, so it was a draw, it was worth 1 point. If you lost, it was 0 points at the end. Whoever had the most points won. So I've had some experience doing submission only, but not not this long. That's for sure. This will be one of the longer matches, but I think I'll be ready.
How important is it, from strategy point of view, is it to still do the things that score points?
My thing about points is I don't try to score points just to score points. So I try to score points to get myself closer to the submission. So
yeah.
If I'm on bottom and the guy's not giving me a submission, there's a good chance that the sweep's open. So I'm going to take the sweep and see how his defenses are from the top. So this is again, not that I'm trying to score points. My style, I prefer to be the aggressor and keep going forward.
But the point, does the point system support submission finish typically?
It's funny. I think as human beings, we naturally want to exploit everything, to some degree, right? And so, I think there was a time where, like it did for the majority of the time, and now I think we're seeing a shift in that. But that's the way it is. You got to adapt, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it's always changing year to year, more often than that, but
yeah, for sure.
What weight class are you do you typically compete in?
Yeah, I'm a middleweight, so I guess like in the gi that's 181.5, and no gi that's 175.5. So yeah.
Okay, and you're competing against Kyle Sandford.
That's
about
right.
the same size, or do you know?
He's bigger, I think. I think he normally fights medium heavy, or maybe I don't know. I don't know what he walks around. I tend to walk around my fighting weight for the most part the whole year within like 3 to 5 pounds, But I think I'm pretty sure he's fought medium heavy before, so he's at least a weight class bigger than me.
Okay. Do you know much about him, or have you watched much tape, or?
I didn't really get to watch much tape. I think I said this in this video that they made to promote the fight. Like I'm kind of stubborn. Like I don't really try to change my style for anyone.
Yeah.
So I just try to impose my game regardless of who it is. So I don't know. Maybe I'll check some stuff out, but I don't try to get lost in my opponent's game. I think that's really dangerous to do.
Yeah. Just kind of focus in on what you're going to do, and you can go out there and try to do that, right? Is that what I'm getting from
For
you?
sure, and that's what Marcelo believes in and teaches us. You know what I mean? So that's something that resonates with me.
Well, cool. It's been a pleasure talking with you. You've got you're in the main event, January 23rd, Submission Series 902. Looking forward to seeing you out there. Any last words for us before we let you go?
Yeah, I just want to real quick give a shout out to my sponsors, MG in Action, Skate Surf Jiu-Jitsu, and Revolution in Motion. Just if you guys get a chance, check them out. And yeah, thanks so much, man. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for my coaches and everybody else at the academy. So for sure, I'm looking forward to making a good fight.
That's what we're all looking forward to: is good fights and guys out there doing their best and trying to go for the finish. That's cool. So, all right,
sure.
Pleasure talking with you, and we'll catch up with you later.
Sounds good, dude.
All right, my friends, I want to introduce to you Joel Jacquard. How are you doing today, Joel?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing great. Happy to have you on the show here and learn a little bit about you before your big match in the Submission Series 902.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Any chance I get to talk about it or myself or my teammates is a pleasure. So thank you for having me.
Cool. Glad to have you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you train and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, my name's Joel Jacquard. I train out of Nova Scotia, and I started training 7.5 to 8 years ago. I'm from a small town, Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, and I started training there with just a couple buddies, and we didn't know much or have an instructor. We had YouTube, and back then the videos that we had access to were scarce, so it was pretty hurting times, but we made it work and had fun doing it and fell in love with jiu-jitsu. I then had an opportunity to move to a small town and also in Nova Scotia called Truro, and I moved there for school, and I found the club, Marmac Athletics, and crazy enough, Jacob McKenzie, he's one of the, I've heard many people say, the best black belt to ever come out of Canada for gi jiu-jitsu, and he was there. He was from there originally, and he'd be home during the holidays for a couple months. In 2009, I got my blue belt under him. I then graduated school. I went to Toronto for a little bit and trained up there at Extreme Couture in Etobicoke, and then I trained at Elite Mississauga. I went back to Truro, I went back to Toronto, and then I finally settled in Halifax. And actually, I forgot to mention, when I was in Yarmouth training, one of our buddies moved to Halifax and got in with Titans. So I always knew I'd end up back at Titans whenever I ended up in Halifax. So 4 years ago, I made the move, and I've been at Titans ever since. I got my purple belt in 2012 under Renzo Gracie black belt Kevin Taylor, and yeah, that's my team. It's my home.
Cool.
So. Yeah.
So about 8 years of training, and you don't just do jiu-jitsu, you do some other martial arts? Okay.
Yeah, well, the let me think. I remember when I started jiu-jitsu, I was doing a lot of boxing in Yarmouth, and then when I moved to Truro in 2008 and 9, I'd say I did more kickboxing than jiu-jitsu in then 2 years, and did a couple kickboxing fights, amateur ones, and I think it was around my last amateur fight in 2011 I fought. My last fight, I had a torn meniscus, and I couldn't really do kickboxing, especially after the fight. My leg was very injured, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to take it easy and focus on jiu-jitsu. And, you know, I didn't do any stand-up barely for a couple months, and I was just like, you know what, man, I enjoy this life better. I'm not getting punched in the head, and I'm having really fun doing jiu-jitsu. I started going to my first big tournament in 2012. It was the Abu Dhabi qualifiers in Montreal, and ever since then, I really got addicted to jiu-jitsu. So the main focus has been that. I mean, if there's fighters that need sparring partners, I'll go in and spar once in a while, or, you know, I flirt with the idea of maybe doing a professional MMA fight, maybe one or two, but no more than that ever. The main goal is jiu-jitsu and to compete at international level and do well.
Now, you do have quite a bit of like a competition history, don't you?
Yeah, I have a bit. I'd say, like, especially for being from Nova Scotia, it's hard to get to the big tournaments because, you know, if you're in Toronto, you got so many close cities that tournaments go to. Being from Nova Scotia, it's a real challenge. The closest one we have is Boston, and that's an 11-hour drive. Next to that is Montreal. That's a 12-hour drive. And, you know, everybody from our gym, we don't even have a single sponsor, like a team sponsor, and that's the big issue here, like, or the big benefit for this event because, you know, Kat Clark is taking a risk by putting on this event in Little Nova Scotia, and it's given us a chance to fight top-level guys without having to drive 12 hours or fly or spend a lot of money to do so. And then maybe people will see, like, whoa, like, who are these guys? Like, these guys are competing with some of the best guys in Canada and one of the best guys from the States, Jonathan Satava. So maybe then people say, why ain't these guys going to tournaments? Why ain't they at Worlds, or why ain't they at, you know, New York Open every year? Because it's expensive, and we all work full-time jobs, and we don't get any sponsors. We're currently working on that. The focus is being on that, and I think being on Submission Series 902 will really help that out. But as far as myself, I probably get to 3 international tournaments a year, or big ones rather, because I usually do Montreal, Boston, and sometimes Boston twice, and sometimes Montreal. Once in a while, we get to go to New York. And other than that, we have probably 4, maybe 5 local tournaments a year in Atlantic Canada, and we try and do most of them. So you get to compete a bit, but never as much as you would want to, you know what I mean? So
yeah. I could relate living kind of out in the middle of nowhere here, and I'm in the middle of the United States, and it's a little bit of a drive to get to anywhere.
It's tough, especially when you're paying to compete, and you know we got to save up money and stuff like that to be able to do this. We got bills, and I live with some of my roommates or teammates rather. Some of the guys on my team live together, so we can save money on rent and hopefully hit up more tournaments. And like I said, being on Submission Series may lead to sponsorships because BC Kimonos actually is sponsoring me for this event, and I think the New York Open I'm going to try and do in April, and they're just giving me being my gi sponsor for those 2 events. So I mean, that's a big step in the right direction for you know, goals of sponsorship. I never had a sponsor in my life for jiu-jitsu, and now I got a gi sponsor all the way from BC, so I want to thank them humongously for sponsoring, you know, little guy from Nova Scotia, relatively unknown, but, you know, I'm trying to get my name out there as long as everyone from the team, too. That's the goal, right?
Yeah. So your match in this is a gi match?
Yeah, my match is a gi match against Michael Tremblay, brown belt from Ottawa. He's very well known in Canada. His whole family is. His sister, she won the brown belt world, and she just got awarded her black belt a month or so ago when he got his brown. Their father's a black belt too, so their family is a well-respected family in Canada. So I'm very excited for the challenge and to get to fight somebody well-known, and you know, I think our skills are even, and I'll put on a good show, and you know, people be like, oh wow, who's this guy? And you know, I'm just the guy from Nova Scotia that's finally getting a chance to do something in front of a lot of eyes. So
cool. You've had your previous match with him. Was that gi, no gi?
Yeah, me and Michael, we fought in a gi match back at the Abu Dhabi trials in Montreal back last February, just 10 months ago. So I imagine a lot's changed since then, like, because I know my game is completely revamped from that time. So I don't really use that match as a reference because I expect a whole different guy. So we fought in a gi, just like we're doing at this one, except it was 6 minutes only, and now it's 15. So that's almost 3 times as long. And we went the distance, and he beat me by a couple points. And the match basically started out with him on the full offense for the first half, and me on the full offense for the second half. It was a very weird match in the sense that he kicked my butt for 3 minutes, and I kicked his for the second 3. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I mean, hopefully it picks up where it left off, but I don't think that's the case. Mikey, he's so good, man. He's such a nice guy. So I was super excited when they offered me this match because they asked me, would you compete in January 23rd? And I don't ask who. I just say where and when, man. I'll fight anybody in jiu-jitsu because there's not much consequence to losing. You tap out and whatever. If you're training at a good gym, you get tapped out every day, so it's not a big deal to me. But then they said, we're thinking about Michael Tremblay. How would you feel about that? And, man, my eyes lit up. I said, wow, you'd fly somebody in to fight me? And they're like, yeah, man, this is the real deal. And I said, I guess. I said, sign me up.
So has your training changed much since you've got word you were going to fight him?
No, like, basically, I never, like, for a tournament, you never know who you're going to fight, so it's never like, all right, I'm going to work on this because this guy's really good at this. This is the first time ever where I know who I'm going to fight, and it's very interesting. So I don't really want to change anything. I just want to be able to go 15 minutes hard. And another way I look at it, like, this is one night in my life for the rest of it, but I plan on having another career for 15, 20 years. So this is just one night. I'm not going to focus too much on the one night. I just want to be in the best shape, and I'm working on everything that I would be working on if I didn't have a match, if that makes sense. I'm just in there more pushing the cardio, and I just want to be the best at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on that night as I can be, not best at what Michael's not good at, or that don't matter to me. It's just going to play out how it's going to play out, and so not too much focus on his game or my game, really. I'm just trying to evolve as a whole for this match and just be sharp everywhere, hopefully.
I like your idea of just it's just part of the journey, and you're gonna come in and you're bumping up the cardio because it's 15 minutes, but you're gonna do the same stuff.
Yeah.
You're not gonna change your whole thing for one guy. But what is your style? What do you like to do?
My style, I like to be on top. And for the longest time, man, I was a fish out of water on bottom. Like, I just felt, my top game was always really good. And if I got on top, it was excellent. Matches went my way. Like, if somebody pulled guard, I was like in my head, like, yes, because I didn't want to waste the energy wrestling because I hate wrestling. You get a 7-minute jiu-jitsu match, and you end up wrestling for 3 of it. And I'm not a wrestler. I'm a jiu-jitsu player, so in my head, it's like, Joel, man, every time you go out there, you're wrestling, you're wasting time wrestling. So it was really after Boston in 2013, it would have been. I was on bottom, and I just didn't feel good, and it's like, holy man, like, I need to do something about this. So I, like, for the next year, almost every match I started on bottom, and since then I've just been working all guard, and I feel comfortable pulling guard against almost anybody in the club, and that's a huge thing for me, because a year and a half ago I would have got whooped every time, and I did. I took some whoopings, trying to get my guard better, but it's finally to a point where I'm like, it's good. So I'd like to say now that I'm well-rounded for a purple belt, especially. Like, I feel confident. I got a couple guards I play that I'm really good at, and I'm always looking for the sweep more so than the submission. From bottom, I'm trying to sweep and then get on top. It's all about pressure, man. I put pressure on people, and I like switching sides a lot and confusing them and make them make mistakes. And so, yeah, I say guard passing's a strong thing of mine, and then hunt for the submission, man. Never looking to hang on or hug them. Trying to put them away every minute, man.
That's cool. That's what you need to do for this thing. Did you think, you spent so much time being a top guy, trying to pass and learning that, and then within about a year, you're able to figure out the guard and kind of bring that up to speed. is having a good understanding of the top game, does that help you understand what the bottom guy is supposed to do, and you were able to learn that quicker?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I find like if you're good at guard passing, then you'll be better, pick up quicker from the bottom, because where I'm used to guard passing, I'll be on the bottom, and I'll just, you can see from their eyes a little bit, you're like, what's he looking at doing? And I might do something like, oh shit, don't do that, because that's what I would have wanted. So yeah, if you have a good top or a good passing, it helps my guard get a lot better quicker, because I understood what they're looking for really well. So then I knew what not to do, and then I figure out, okay, then what should I do? This is what I should do. And the thing is too, man, like our club, for being a small town, Halifax or city, whatever you want to call it, we have, man, amazing talent, like amazing guys at the club. And what I love about our club, we don't follow one style. Like we'll do what's popular for a week, and then we'll go back to do something else. Like there's nothing we neglect at the club. Like our coach is always trying to learn new things, and a couple of the black belts are always trying to like, check this out. Like let's work on this week. So I find like, we got some guys that are really good at X. We have some guys that are really good at De La Riva. We got some guys that are really good at butterfly. Somebody has the answer at our club. Somebody. It might be a blue belt, or it might be a purple belt, or it might be the coach, or it might be the black belt. So it's really, that really helps too. So I always have a question, and I can find somebody with the answer. So that says a lot about our club. Like a lot of talent there, and that makes getting good easy if you want to get good. And I find another thing too is putting in time, man. Like one thing I've done in the last 6 months especially is like, you know what, man, if I get a day off from work, be in the gym twice. That's my new rule. It's like, day off, what are you doing all day? Like unless you got, errands to run or shit like that. Like go in the gym twice, go in the morning, go back at night. So that's my new thing. It's just putting in the time, man, and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. Like, for example, a year ago when I was starting out on my back, it was very frustrating, but the benefits paid off. I took a lot of whoopings, and I learned a lot. So it feels good.
So you did that just almost to make yourself get better. And you probably lost matches that you would have won, maybe.
In tournaments, if I got stuck on bottom, I wasn't comfortable, and that's a terrible feeling. You go all that way, you save all that money, and I'm going into something, and I end up on bottom. It's like, all right, what do I do? Well, I wasted a bunch of money because I didn't prepare for this good enough. So it's like, all right, dude, like your top game's good. Just put it on the back burner for a little bit and get your guard to where it is. And now I finally feel that my bottom is just as good as my top. And I'm telling you, mentally, going into the tournament or going into this match, it does wonders. Like, it's so good for my confidence. Like, I'm at an all-time high for confidence, and people in the gym's been complimenting stuff, and great support there. So I feel good, man.
Yeah, that would affect your confidence if you feel that you have a hole in your game that could be exploited, like just the whole bottom game. Well, I hope I don't end up on my bottom game, but you fix that. I would imagine confidence. You're saying, it just shoots way up, and hey, if I end up on bottom, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah, there's no more of that. All right, Joel, you got to get on top. You got to get on top. Now it's like, here's my new rule, man. In a tournament, I'm going to shoot once. If it fails, I'm pulling guard because I just want to get to the ground as soon as possible. I don't want to make a wrestling match at all in any jiu-jitsu match. I want it to be a jiu-jitsu match for 6 minutes and 50 seconds of a 7-minute match, or an hour situation with Mike. The 15 minutes, I hope we're on the ground within 10 seconds, and hopefully, I'm going to go look for a takedown in the first few seconds, and if it don't work, I'm going to pull a guard. It's good. I'm confident either way. If I hit the takedown, great. I'm super confident there. If I end up on bottom, I'm still ready to go. So
cool.
It'll be fun. It's good mentally.
Yeah, sounds like you're going to get the match started quickly and use your time. Your last match is so exciting. I'm eager to see what you guys do this one.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, me and Mike's match was very exciting. It was one of the most fun matches I've ever had, and he was one of the nicest guys I've ever competed against. After we talked for a bit, and he's such a nice guy and well respected, and so the opportunity to face him again is awesome. I knew we're probably going to face each other 10 more times, in the next 10 years, because we're both always in Montreal or some of the other tournaments in Ontario. So, but never again probably for 15 minutes. So this is the one where all eyes are going to be on. This is the big one. So I'm training hard and ready to do well and represent the team well, hopefully. And either way, though, like, here's the thing: like, if you lose, you lose to such a nice guy. It's all good, and we're both evenly matched. I feel it literally could go 15 minutes, and it literally could end in the first minute. I know I'm going to go for broke. I'm not going to sit around and, you know, if I see something, I'm diving at it. I don't care if I end up on bottom, or I'm going to go out there and do my best and be aggressive. And, you know, if he catches me on a mistake, he catches me, and vice versa, man. I'm going for broke. Last thing I want is people say, man, that was boring. That's the last thing I want. Like, I'd rather lose and then be like, that was the best match on the card, than you know, go to a draw and just people snoozing through it. So I'm going out there and make it look exciting. That's the whole reason for pushing the cardio so hard for this event, is I don't want to get out there and feel gassed, because that's the worst feeling in the world.
All right, Joel, well, good luck with your big match coming up, and definitely excited to see this one. Hopefully you have a healthy training sessions, and good luck with everything.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, I want to hear about your sponsor real quick.
Yeah, so my only sponsor at the time for this event is BC Kimonos. They're based out of British Columbia, Canada, and I really want to thank them for you know, taking the chance and sponsoring a lesser-known guy. They're giving us local guys that don't have much exposure a chance to get sponsors and hook us up, and that's really good of them. They got beautiful gis, Nogi gear. You check them out at BC Kimonos on Facebook. And Brett Cooper, I want to thank you for hooking me up, man. I really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
All right, we'll look for you on the Submission Series 902.
Cool, man. I hope I put on a show, and thanks for having me on again. And to anybody out there, enjoy the show. It's going to be good. Don't miss it.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
I own a small island off the coast of Brazil. I have covered the entire island from coast to coast in mats. Welcome to Grappler's Park. We have collected DNA from all the top grapplers all over the world.
That's kind of gross.
We have made a living biological grappler so astounding that he will be able to submit anyone in the entire world. He will be the most phenomenal grappler of our time.
Gary, this is going to be awesome.
He has almost no neck.
He used all technique.
Grappling power is the most awesome force the world has ever seen, and you have unleashed it on our island.
What move was that?
Is that a knee reap? He refuses to take a shower.
I know he has ringworm.
You know, grapplers, they will find a way to get the tap.
The island is covered in dirty geese.
He said we were going to roll lightly, and then he came at me like a wounded cougar.
What do you mean the island doesn't have the internet? How am I going to watch YouTube? That's it. He just bit me. All right, my friends. I'm honored to have Michael Tremblay here. He's going to be fighting Joel Jacquard in the Submission Series 902. Michael, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on, and just recently heard from heard from Joel, and he's excited and he's training hard. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce us, who you are, where you're from, that sort of thing?
Yeah, great. So my name is Michael Tremblay. I'm a 22-year-old brown belt. I live just outside of Ottawa, Ontario, in Carleton Place, Ontario. So it's about a small town of about 10,000 people. I train at a club, Alpha MMA. We're affiliated underneath BTT Canada. And my head coach is Peter Tremblay, who's a black belt, and that's my father. And I train with my sister as well, Allison Tremblay, who's a black belt as well.
Cool. And you're 22, how long have you been training?
Honestly, I can't remember. I've been training since I was 4 years old, 5 years old. My dad's been teaching full time since 1998, so I guess that would make me about 5 years old when I started training. Yeah.
Michael, you're making me feel old already. In 1998, I graduated high school.
Yeah.
So that's funny. That's cool, man. You got in it really young, and you've got great example to look up to in your father and your sister's training. What's that like, training with your family?
It's honestly, it's such a great experience. To have the support structure in place, first of all, like I know there's a lot of people who are really passionate about jiu-jitsu and maybe their family doesn't take it seriously or doesn't want to support them in it. And I've never had that, obviously, right? You can go home and you're watching videos and you're studying tapes together and you're talking about opponents and you're talking about strategies. And obviously they support you as much as possible and want you to be the best at jiu-jitsu that you can be. It's also like the experience, because people talk about, you know, the people you train with being like a metaphorical family, but the people that I train with is a literal family. So my sister, for example, she won the world championships, like she won the Mundials at purple belt and brown belt. And when she did that, it was like the most incredible experience for me as well, because I've grown up with her whole life. We've been training together. Or when I win the big tournaments as well, she's so happy for me. And there's nothing like, you know, the bond we have is incredible. Really special thing.
That is cool. I just could imagine I really can't imagine how proud you are. I'm proud of a teammate that goes out and does something, you know, really, really amazing. But to have your own family member and your sister go out and do something like that, that's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, just out of curiosity, since you've been training your entire training, since you were 5, underneath your father, is your game similar to what he does, or have you developed in a different way?
Yeah. So, well, I would say my game, I've always been very technical. Like growing up, I was not very athletic. So I really, really like jiu-jitsu because I saw it as an opportunity where, even if you were not a good athlete, if you were technical enough, if you got the correct technique, you could win the match. So starting off, I played a lot, like at the lower belts, I played a lot more guard, which is not really my father's game. He's always been more of a top pressure kind of passing. I was playing out the spider guard, the berimbolo and stuff like that. But now that I've gotten older, and so like through the higher parts of my purple belt and now my brown belt, I'm starting to become more like my father in my game. I'm starting to become like slower and returning back to the basics and kind of implementing those. And I think that's something that comes just with experience. I'm starting to appreciate the basic positions. It doesn't have to be something fancy. If you execute the basics well, you're going to have success with them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It is. You boil it down to it. The basics will get you where you need to go.
Exactly.
Some people work really hard on some really silly things, and they end up not really getting much with those sometimes. You're going to school? Is that you're full-time student and athlete, or what are you doing as far as school?
So I'm a full-time student at Carleton University in the master's program of philosophy. I also work there as a TA. I also have an academic scholarship there, so I am working very, very hard in school. But on top of that, I'm training 6 days a week in jiu-jitsu and strength and conditioning on top of that. So very busy schedule.
You sound like a busy guy. It's amazing to watch people juggle, the student or like a heavy workload, and training like a lot to compete at a high level. How have you managed to do this?
I honestly don't find it that difficult. Like I said, I'm really passionate about jiu-jitsu, and I'm really passionate about philosophy as well. And because I like both of those things, it's not work for me. It's not hard for me to, stay up late doing homework or, to make it to practice and practice for 3 hours. That's never difficult. So I just like what I do, and that makes it really easy to do a lot, I think.
Yeah, and I do probably would have to guess if you've done this since you were 5, you've also been a student since about that age, and you're just used to going to school and training and going back to school and training all the time. So,
well, that's a good point. Like I've been doing that since I was in high school. Since I was in elementary school. You go to school in the morning, you come home, and you got to get your homework done right away because you have practice. And yeah, I've gotten used to it.
That's cool. What made you pick philosophy?
So I think that the reason that I was attracted to jiu-jitsu and martial arts in general, because I also do striking and I used to wrestle and I've had a couple MMA fights. The reason I like them is I'm very passionate about them as a martial art as opposed to a sport. And what that means to me is what a martial art is something that focuses on, self-improvement and becoming a good person, becoming a role model and working on your character, as opposed to just, what you can do as an athlete. And I think philosophy emphasizes a lot of those same qualities. I think philosophy is kind of the intellectual pursuit of self-improvement, whereas jiu-jitsu is kind of the physical pursuit of self-improvement, or martial arts is. So I think they're two sides of the same coin. They're very interrelated. So it's easy for me to take my passion for martial arts and apply that to philosophy. Yeah.
Why do you think that the martial arts has that no matter what sport you're doing, you want to have improvement in the sport, but martial arts has like a different aspect to it. Why is that?
I think the key with martial arts, why it's different, is it teaches a degree of humility. There's something very serious about martial arts. When you're training, and by the time you're a blue belt or a purple belt, you can kill people, and you have to be humble with that. There's a responsibility that comes with that. To use the Spider-Man quote, like with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. And that's one thing about that's what is different about martial arts is you can't let your ego get away from you. You have a responsibility to yourself and others. And I think that changes the way you look at what you're doing.
Do you think most like MMA athletes have that sense of like it's not just a sport but it's a martial art, or are people getting away from that, you think?
I think people are getting away from that. I mean, I'm not sure if it's any different than it used to be. I mean, you used to have Mike Tyson's back in the day in boxing and stuff like that. I think you've always had both. And I think that's a dangerous thing, but I hope people can move back towards it or can focus on the proper things. And I think you have people, people like GSP and stuff that are very humble and very, very proper in their training and their attitude. And I think those serve as good role models for sure.
And you're a young guy, you're 22, but you're going to still be grappling, doing jiu-jitsu when you're an old guy. Like, you would argue with me if I said anything different, right? I mean, that's the way I'm gonna do this for as long as I'll hold up. But I think the MMA attitude sometimes, or the people that don't see it as a martial art, they just want to, if you viewed even this match as just I'm going to go in there and win versus I'm going to go in there and you have like a more open philosophy about the whole thing. If you lose, and that's a possibility, you're going to try to learn from it and try to develop and try to get better, and you're not going to hate the guy that beats you and want, like, there's nothing like that in jiu-jitsu. So that I really like that aspect of it. But like, with that attitude, it's more of a long-term thing.
Absolutely. Well, because my dad has an example. My dad has my coach. He has an example that if you're not careful to learn something from martial arts, to take something important as a lesson, if you're just learning it for the physical aspect, eventually you're going to get hurt, you're going to get old, you're going to get beat up, and then you're just going to be an asshole with a bad knee, and you're not going to have taken anything from that. So I want to be a good fighter. I want to achieve something in the sport, but when I become older and I become a coach, I want to be somebody that can teach people things about being a person, not just about fighting. So yeah, that's what it means to be in it for the long run. Because if you're just doing it for the physicality, that's going to last you until your body breaks down, and then you're left with nothing.
Yeah, I like that. It's a wise, and it's kind of funny, saying that your dad has. So that's good. You've had a match previous there with Joel. How'd that go?
Yes. That was a good match. I think it was 11-8, so it was a really high-scoring match. We were both working a lot. I think I came out quick, and I scored a lot of points early. And then I remember him having really good cardio and a really good pace, and he pushed the pace later on in the match, and he ended up coming back in the score, but I was able to hold off and win on points. So in our next fight, it's going to be a very interesting change in dynamic, because that was at the Abu Dhabi trials, which I think is a 6-minute match, and this one is going to be 15 minutes. So just the pacing and the mentality is going to be entirely different. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for that as well. It's always good to see two guys have a good back and forth match, and then
exactly, yeah.
Bump up the time some and go for the submission. So it'll be an exciting match.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree.
You've had a few super fights before, or done some fights for charity. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, so the Fight for Charity was a Montreal organization, which was very similar. So it was a super fight card. It was not submission only, so we were using IBJJF rules. And in the first one, I won my match on points. In the second one, so that was in the second event, I got to fight Alex Garcia, who is currently fighting in the UFC right now. He's 2-1 in the UFC right now. And so that was a really, really cool opportunity to fight an elite guy in MMA. Someone who's, obviously if you're in the UFC, you're a top caliber athlete.
Yes.
And that was a cool opportunity. So I beat him on points, and that was a really fun match for me. And and then in the third one, I ended up losing my match by submission to a really, really tough guy out of Quebec. So it was a fun time competing in that organization for sure.
Cool. You're flying out there to compete here. Are you bringing a coach with you, or just you going by yourself, or how does that work out?
I'm just going by myself. So one of the hard parts about it's nice having a jiu-jitsu family, but there's a tournament in Toronto that our club goes to at the same time. So at that same weekend, so my dad will be going there. He'll be bringing 30 students. So he's going there to compete, to coach those students, as well as my sister. So I'll just be going out by myself. But I feel pretty comfortable, especially in a submission-only aspect, because I don't feel it's so much about strategy as it is about who's better. So I feel comfortable, even though obviously I would love to have my coaches out there. I feel comfortable by myself competing out there.
Cool. And have you done that much before, with having no corner or nobody to give you advice?
I think that's going to be my first time, because normally I'm always there with my sister or my dad. But I'm excited for the opportunity. It'd be fun.
Yeah, I like you just said a minute ago. Submission only is less strategy and more just seeing who's better, and that so many practitioners spend a lot of time strategizing about how to score their points and how to do things, but really, if you're just rolling to tap the other guy out, that is less strategy. It's just there is strategy to it, but you just go out there and see whose game matches up better with the other guys.
Yeah, that's my strategy coming into this. That's my strategy is just to be better.
Are you training much differently than you would for any other tournament?
No, not really. We very heavily stress position, but we don't stress position because it scores points. We stress position because if you have mount or if you have back mount, that's where you're going to be able to submit the guy. So I'm just training the same way, working on establishing my dominant position and finishing from there. We did a couple 15-minute rounds, which is a really, really long time when you're going hard, I learned, and I'm really excited for that. I think that's really fun, because when you get exhausted, that's when the pure technicality of your jiu-jitsu comes out. You're not relying on your physicality or your attributes anymore, and that's where I feel like I have a advantage. That's where I feel like my best area is on my technicality. So I'm looking forward to pushing that match into that later area.
Cool. Could you describe some of maybe your game, or maybe a few of your favorite submissions that you like to do?
Yeah, great. What I've been working on a lot right now is just been working on establishing pressure. So I used to wrestle, so I like, getting the takedown, staying on top, and from there pressuring from the half guard or getting into the half guard and passing the guard. From there I've been working a lot on back mount, and crucifix has been working a lot for me recently too. So I'm feeling confident about going for that. I got 2 crucifix submissions in my very last tournament, so that's what I'm looking for. We'll see if it works.
Cool. That sounds exciting. Sounds like you've got everything kind of working out for you there, and you're training hard, you're going to school, and you're ready to do this, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's going great.
Cool. Do you have any sponsors you want to mention?
Yeah, so obviously I'm supported by BTT Canada, who is that affiliation, provides me a lot of training opportunities, provides me a lot of partners and equipment. And I'm also being sponsored by BC Kimonos for this event, which is a really exciting, great gi company from out east, or out west from BC. So that's a cool opportunity, and I appreciate the support from them.
Cool. Well, good luck with your fight coming up, and hope you have good and safe training there up until it.
Great. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on here with us. It was fun to hear from you.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, my friends, I want to welcome Scott Noss to the BJJ Break podcast. Scott, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
All right, that's good to hear. You are competing in Submission Series 902 on January 23rd. Are you looking forward to that?
I sure am. It's the event's getting a lot of hype. Locally, everywhere I go, people are talking about it, and I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a good platform for the sport, and I'm hoping it's going to engage people, new people to the sport, and develop a local following.
That's cool. That'll be good for the entire area. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm from Truro, Nova Scotia, kind of an hour north of Halifax. I train out of Merrimack Athletics in Truro and Titans BJJ in Halifax. I split my time back between both clubs. I actually work in both towns, so it works out conveniently for me. I got started in martial arts in the early 2000s. I did predominantly kickboxing, predominantly stand up. I had a few amateur fights in the mid 2000s, and then from there, Jake McKenzie just happened to be from my hometown. He's probably one of the most decorated Canadians in sport jiu-jitsu, and was offering a few classes at my kickboxing club, and I just instantly got hooked from there, and I've been training jiu-jitsu ever since about 2007. I'm currently a brown belt. That's cool.
So you train at 2 different gyms. Do you kind of, is one of them more of a home than the other, or is it equal?
Well, I kind of feel home at both clubs. It's kind of funny. I split my time about 50-50. I instruct back home at Merrimack Athletics, myself and Dan Vanderlance. And we have, approximately 10 to 15 students. We have, up into the blue belts. We don't have any purple belts yet. But we got a good, a young, hungry bunch there. And then I do a lot of training also in at Titans in Halifax, which is full of, brown belts and purple belts. We have a few black belts. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. I get to teach, and I get to be a student. So I'm pretty fortunate, in that regard.
I think it takes a different mindset to teach than it is to be the student yourself. And that seems like a lot of times guys will start teaching and they'll better understand what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think that statement is very true. It's kind of funny, you take a concept and you decide you're going to teach it that night, and you instantly realize that you only knew, maybe 50% of the technique that you thought you knew, so it forces you to maybe ask questions of some of your teammates, maybe go online, check out, the move, an instructional on the move, and then maybe even drill it a couple times before the class starts, just because once you're in front of an audience, you want to make sure you got the technique down pretty pat. And quite often people will ask you questions, and you kind of don't want to be caught off guard. But, I think teaching is an excellent way to learn the sport, and I think it's kind of a duty, really, for people in the sport to make the sport grow.
I think martial arts is being, both a teacher and a student, and being, good at both facets.
Yeah, I like that. It's almost a duty, and even if you're a fairly experienced white belt or even a blue belt, you're still going to have people that understand less than you about something, and you're able to help them and help it grow, help your teammates grow. That's as good for your team and good for you.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. And it's interesting because I'm a brown belt, but I've learned a lot from blue belts. Like the sport is so so diverse. There's so many different techniques from different positions and different variations of those techniques. So you can't be an expert on everything. So you have to keep an open mind at all times. And it's funny, like some white belts and some blue belts, can be almost black belts in certain techniques from certain positions for whatever reason, and so you always got to be, my instructor, Kevin Taylor, always tells me, think like a jiu-jitsu thief, be willing to steal technique from anyone, at all times. And I really think that it's, an important part of developing your game.
You gotta take what you can and add it to your own game. I like that. So your match on the 23rd, who are you competing against?
I have Dana Dickinson from Synergy in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Do you know much about him?
I've known Dana for quite a while. I know he's a big black belt. He's going to have quite a bit of size on me, but I haven't actually got to see Dana compete that often. It's kind of funny. He tends to travel to compete, whereas I always kind of competed locally. I've seen him compete once anyway, and it's kind of ironic. We actually have a common opponent. Andrew Hussey from Cape Breton there, but you can never rely on jiu-jitsu or fighter math, right? So it's going to be interesting to get on the mat with Dana. So I'm interested to see what he has to offer, and I'm really looking forward to the test of going up against a bigger, more experienced opponent.
How much bigger is he?
Well, I really don't know. I suspect, I saw him just here a couple weeks ago. I suspect I don't want to hurt Dana's feelings here, but I suspect he's 230, 240, somewhere in that vicinity.
Yeah.
And I walk around at 195.
Okay.
I'm joking that my plan is to bulk up over the holidays, eat lots of turkey and drink lots of beer and, show up at 198 maybe in the new year, but we'll see. I walk around at probably 195, and I've, even competed, I guess, I've competed at 185 before. So, I'm definitely the smaller guy. But I think I'm going to have a speed advantage.
Yeah. Does he have a weight to make? Or is there a weight class on this?
There's no weight class.
Okay, so he didn't have to lose any weight or get down to something.
No.
Well, yeah, bulk up during the holidays. That's the way to do it. That's what I always tend to do.
For whatever reason, my metabolism never lets me. If I'm training and I just can't seem to put weight on. I guess I shouldn't complain, right? Because I got friends that walk by a cheeseburger and they put weight on. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Everybody is different, but I bet it has something to do with all that mat time as well, keeping the weight off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I train 6 days a week, and I'd train all 7 if I could, if my body would allow it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Could you tell us a little bit about your competition history?
Sure, I've competed a lot, but more locally on the small circuit. I estimate I have around 200 matches. I probably have the most competitive matches locally of most guys, I would say, in the Atlantic provinces. But again, my experience is pretty well just local tournaments against a lot of, similar competition. I'd estimate my record would be around, I think probably about 180 wins, probably 20 losses. So I've been, pretty successful locally. I think I've won most of the local tournaments that I've competed in. I've had a few amateur kickboxing, fights, and I've had an amateur MMA fight as well.
Cool. Hi, this is at the submission series. Is it 15 minutes long?
Yeah, it's 15 minutes. Yep.
Have you ever done a 15-minute round before?
I've never done a 15-minute round before, so I'm interested to see how that is too.
Yeah, especially with a bigger opponent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
With a larger opponent, it might, if you get to be a bad position, that could be a long 15. If you manage to stay, active and from getting smashed, may not seem that long of a time. But I don't know. I would be a little. Getting smashed for 15 minutes could be a long time, but if you're able to keep with it, it's like you're saying, you're going to have a little bit of advantage with speed and maybe in cardio.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's going to be my big advantage. To be honest with you, is going to be the speed and cardio, advantage. I've never been tired in competition, so yeah, my plan is to get to a dominant position and push the pace and see what Dana's cardio is going to be like.
Cool. That I got to go back to that. You've never been tired in competition. That's a very interesting statement because many guys train and gals train so hard to do a jiu-jitsu tournament, and they get their cardio through the roof. First match, it's 3 minutes long, and they're exhausted. Even if they win, they're exhausted. What's the deal? How come you're not getting tired in competition?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of things. I think for a lot of people, they are in good shape. They train hard leading up to the competition. But what happens is they get the nerves and stage fright. Okay, and suddenly that they're going 100% for that 3 or 4 minutes. And in reality, that's like, an 8-minute round in the gym. You know what I mean? Like, when your pulse rates, so, I've got a lot of competition experience, and I tend to stay calm and perform well under pressure. So, I think that's part of it. And, the fact that, I train hard, I do a lot of rolling and sparring in class, and, it's always paid dividends, come competition time. And conditioning has never been a factor. In fact, I've always been one of these guys that sometimes could be down on points and, just be able to pull something off in the last 30, 45 seconds, and a lot of it is just because of willpower and determination at that point, and conditioning.
That's cool. I think a lot of it, like you're saying, is the mental side of it is why people are getting tired, the nerves and the anxiety and the adrenaline versus what they've prepared their body to do. And with over 200 matches or so, I imagine you're pretty calm out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just got to try to not allow nerves to get the best of you. You have to remember, in competition that you're only fighting another person, right? You're not fighting a robot. They're there. They're nervous as well. And what's going to happen is going to happen. You've trained your body to perform, and you just have to allow your body to go out and go into that autopilot mode where it just resorts back to what you've learned and what you've drilled in class over and over again. The fact that there's a big crowd there shouldn't play into factor.
Yeah, it's just you and another guy on a mat, and you're out there doing what you've been training to do.
Exactly. You're fighting human being, So
that's funny to say that, but it's true. You're just fighting another person. It's easy to get worked up about who you're up against, but really another person, they're nervous too. Most likely, it's a good way to look at it and kind of calm yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have? Imagine with that much experience, do you have like a certain thing you do before a match to get ready?
Well, no, I just try and stay calm, leading up to the match. I always try and have a good game plan heading in. I'm a guy that likes to analyze, my opponent, my situation. I feel I have a good handle on my strengths, what I bring to the table, and I just try and go out and execute a game plan.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you out there.
Thank you.
I don't want you to give away too much, but do you have a couple favorite submissions that you like to typically find?
I like whatever works for me. I do probably most of my submissions are from the mount, so I think I'm probably well known for the head and arm choke and arm bars and stuff from the top, but I'll take anything that's there, right?
Take what's available and in the match early.
Exactly.
That's good. All right. Well, thanks for talking with us, Scott, and good luck with everything in your training.
All right. Well, thanks. Thanks for doing the interview, and thanks for helping spread the word on the event.
All right, my friends. I'd like to welcome Kevin Tebow in to the BJJ Brick podcast. You're kind of a replacement for somebody who's been injured. Kevin, how you doing, man?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good. You've got a match against Scott. Is that correct? You were replacing Dana Dixon?
Yes. Yeah, cool. Dana. Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
36 years old, family, worked hard and trained hard. Opened up the academy here probably, with Jiu-Jitsu, I started probably 2010. Been training under Shane Rice, who's a Hickson Gracie black belt. He also teaches and trains at the academy with us. And, been slugging her through for the last few years and building a pretty good, strong team here in the last few years. We're really all coming together.
Cool. You said you've been training since 2010. Have you competed much in that time?
Not a whole lot, as much as I can, but being a coach, it's sometimes as the team grows, it's hard to compete. You're running from one end of the gym to the other end of the gym or while the competitions are going on. So it makes it pretty difficult sometimes to focus on competing all the time. But, I have competed and I've had some success and, had some failures at the beginning and, but all in all, things are looking up for me and the team. So, we must be doing something right. So.
Cool. Sounds like you're doing good down there, or I guess up there. Is your match gi or no gi or how?
My match is gi. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a gi match.
And it's 15 minutes submission only. That's correct?
Yes.
Have you ever been in a match that's 15 minutes long?
No.
Cool.
Not a jiu-jitsu match.
What do you think about that?
It's going to be a test. It's going to be a test on I think number one on your will, and it's going to definitely be a test on the body and in your cardio. But we'll see. I play a pretty strong game. So it should be able to do this and hang in there, right? But definitely, I think we're both going to be tired by the end of this match, right? Definitely won't be easy, but I'll be ready for it. Started focusing on training for this today. Was my first official beginning of the training camp after just taking the fight. So I felt good today, and we're just putting things together on conditioning and the training, and how to last these 15 minutes and not get overly fatigued or pass out from exhaustion.
Today, just to kind of set there, it's December 29. We're going to add this a little bit later, so that's when you started training. Specifically for this. But, I'm guessing you're like most jiu-jitsu people. You train all the time anyway. It's just a little bit different, maybe thinking about the time limits and thinking about the goal of just getting the submission.
Yeah, we don't train, for time limits mostly. So when we're in there and just open rolling, we're going, long periods of time until somebody, gets something, right? So to go a long period of time is not going to be a stretch for me. We're used to training long sessions, so it's it'll be nothing new. Just with the stress and the pressure of the whole entire event, that'll be new. But I don't think there'll be too many problems on my end for lasting the time or going for it, right? So.
Yeah, good. That's good to hear. Can you describe your style to us a little bit?
Basic. I'm where we train under Shane Rice, who is comes from Hickson Gracie. It's a pretty strong, dominant game. No crazy modern guards or anything like that. It's a pretty basic Gracie Jiu-Jitsu game that I play and our whole team plays. So it's no secret what we bring to the game. It's strong basics and and we're just going for that old school Gracie style, that heavy top dominated strong guard game, right? Is kind of what we play and what is what I do.
Cool. Are you prepared to deal with like one of the newer styles of guard from the top aspect of it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's nothing that we're not used to dealing with. It may not be something that we train to do, but we're definitely always training. Especially when we're preparing for competitions, is training how to, impose our game, against some of the, different styles out there, especially in today, right? So.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the benefits of the guard is when you're doing that, you get to choose which guard you do. But when you're playing the top game, it's like you got to be ready for whatever they're going to do, and just to be able to get around that.
Very much so. It's just a matter of preparing for what's going to happen, right? And then you just, you just deal with the outcome, right?
Yeah. Do you know much about your opponent?
I know a little bit about him. Just from the times I have seen him compete, and I know different guys from his academy, and guys he trains with. I've seen them compete, so to say I know exactly what his game is, I can't say I do. But I know his style. I know kind of what he likes to do, and let's not. There's no secrets of any of us, and especially in a small area like we are. Everybody kind of knows what each person or each team, each school is good at, right? So, I'm sure he'll have some surprises in there for me, but hey, we'll see. We'll deal with what comes along.
In the past, when you competed, has it primarily been with a gi, or has it been both gi and no-gi?
I've done a few no-gi tournaments, but yeah, it's predominantly gi. I enjoy training in the gi. It's kind of where I feel most comfortable, is training and competing when I do compete in the gi. It's just kind of where, if I have any experience, it's going to be definitely, with the gi more than the no-gi.
Are you able to bring anybody with you to help, corner you or to help coach you as the match is going on?
Yeah, either, I got to confirm everything with Shane, but, I will, more than likely have, Professor Shane Rice in my corner during this event, right? So.
That's cool. It's always good to have somebody like that in your corner and helping you out and looking for things that you may not notice and just being on your side.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So you found out about this really just a few days ago, or when did you, I guess, find out about this?
It was either Christmas Eve or the 23rd. It was right around Christmas. I can't remember what day it was, but it was within a day or so of Christmas, right? So, it was only last week sometime.
So what are you doing, like, to kind of to get ready for this? It's not like a short notice, but it's coming up pretty quick. Are you going to work on a couple of particular submissions and try to get those a little bit better, or do you just try to keep doing what you're doing, or what are you doing differently?
What we started doing today is just basically sharpening everything up. We're going to go in there, the next few weeks and put in some hard, grueling time on the mat, push the conditioning, push the cardio, push the muscle fatigue, and but then really just sharpen up everything. Sharpening up the defense, sharpening up all the basics. Finding any potential holes that he may be looking for, or something he can expose and take. So really it's a matter of just, sharpening it up and cleaning everything up and taking out the, any of the bad habits or the mistakes, that may be there that we never noticed before. But we just got to, now we're taking a step back and, analyzing everything I do. Just a matter of, fixing and sharpening everything that's there, right?
Yeah. Well, do you think this event will affect you differently because it's not, there's nobody else to watch other than your match while it's going on? Is that going to play into you at all, or is it not really? Will that not affect you? You think?
You mean
like versus like a tournament? Yeah, like will you be thinking about that, or will you just go out there and compete? Go out there and roll and do your best, or will during a jiu-jitsu tournament, there's so much going on all over the place that you could assume it.
I don't think it'll affect me a lot. Crowds don't normally change the way, they don't affect me a whole lot. So, it's really not going to change my focus to take it into the crowd or to have all those eyes staring on me. I've been doing martial arts since I was 12 and, of some sort or another. So I'm used to being in front of big crowds, and been doing that since I started. So I've never really had the stage fright in front of big crowds competing or just being in front of crowds. So I don't see that playing, a huge factor. But hey, you never know until you walk out there and the bright lights are on you, right? So,
yeah. Well, it sounds like you'll be. I mean, the crowd shouldn't affect what you're going to do as far as what you're doing on the mat. So it sounds like it's not going to bother you. You mentioned you just started martial arts at 12. What did you start with?
I started with karate. I started karate at 12, and I think got my black belt at 17, and then got my second degree when I was in my early 20s. Then eventually just left from there and moved into kickboxing and Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, and just moved into the other arts, as I progressed and got older and seen something different that I wanted to move on to, right?
Yeah. I don't do any other martial arts, but when I do something that's off the mat, like work or something else that's physical, a lot of times I could relate things like from jiu-jitsu to other tasks that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Can you bring anything that maybe like a lesson learned or something about that from earlier on in your martial arts training and that you still use that most people don't realize?
I think it's just the focus, the focus and the ability to just adapt and move and be able to know, a bad spot to a good spot. You get that sense of this is bad.
Yeah.
And you've been training in different martial arts, and you get used to those little twinges where you're like, okay, this is going to get bad quick if I don't do something, right? And just the focus and the ability to learn. It's hard to be a student sometimes. And, if you can learn to sit down and listen and take the criticism and the instruction from the people who know you and know what you're doing and what you're doing wrong. Sometimes, from being in other martial arts, you learn how to take that and move forward with it.
Yeah, that's big. Learning to be a good student and to take criticism and to take advice that's especially when you get up there in your skill level, you've got to always a student. You got to always keep learning.
There's always somebody that knows more, so you got to be able to take that and adapt it, right?
And you mentioned that having that sense of when you're in trouble or not. And I'm thinking, when I'm rolling, sometimes somebody will get me in a bad spot, get on my back or get in mount, something like that, and it's not until like I could either feel it or something else. Like, okay, now I'm in trouble. Like, just they have my back, and we're just rolling. I'm not, I don't really care anyway, but sometimes you feel a certain way, and it's like a lot worse. And that sense of when you're in trouble, even if the choke's not even locked in, I feel that this is going to be a tough one to get out of sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. It's that body awareness.
Yeah,
of knowing what's happening, and when it's too late.
So primarily now you're basically focusing on your jiu-jitsu?
I definitely will be only focusing on my jiu-jitsu for the next 3 weeks. But I am, on a day-to-day basis when I'm at the academy. I switch my time between teaching, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, or some MMA classes also, right? So.
Cool. Are you doing any off-the-mat training as far as cardio-wise, or is it just rolling as much as you can?
I'll be rolling as much as I can, but I'll be working with we got a strength and conditioning coach, so I'll be working with our coach there probably as much as I can get in between my mat sessions, right? So, I'll be working with him and just kicking in some of the training that he normally does with our other athletes when they're either preparing for tournaments or MMA events or something like that. So.
Cool. It sounds like you're going to be ready for it, and it sounds like you're going to put on a good show. So I'm looking forward to it.
We're going to try, right?
Yeah.
We're going to go there, and I think we're both going to go there and give our best, and hopefully, give the crowd something they enjoy, and so that way we can have more of these events, and everybody. Well, I'm sure they have other people on their teams that are just chomping and ready to do the second event. Whenever that happens, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, cool. I'm looking forward to seeing you out there on the mat there.
All right, buddy.
Kevin, do you have any sponsors you want to thank before I let you go?
Yeah, I'll probably I'd like to thank Sandford Chiropractic. Dr. Rodney Thompson keeps me going on a day-to-day basis, and Manimal Athletics. You know, he's our strength and conditioning coach at the academy, so he'll be spending some time working with me. So I'd definitely like to give a shout out to him.
All right. Well, sounds good.
All right, buddy.
All right. Well, it's been fun talking with you.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, man, for your time.
Yep. Thank you. All right. That wraps up the interview series we did with Submission Series 902. Definitely check it out. It takes place January 23rd. If you can't see it live, check it out online. I guess a few days later they're going to put it up, or check for it on demand. It will be it's free on demand, but if you have that listed on your TV settings or whatever, check it out on the tube.
That's an awesome Submission Series 902. January 23rd. Do not miss it. It's going to be action packed. Going to be fun. If you miss it, you're missing out. But like Byron said, you can check it out a couple of days later on demand. So definitely make sure you watch it.
Yep. Next week's show, Gary, we got a pretty big show next week.
We have a very big show. We have a special guest.
Should we even? No, we should tell them probably. Rafael Lovato Jr. is going to be on the show with us, talking about he's been injured. He's talking about getting better. Talking about his Save Jiu-Jitsu campaign he's on. He's trying to make Jiu-Jitsu more exciting. And he also talks a little bit about his MMA career and his goals with that. And you know he's busy, but he's hurt. You know, and what he's going to do in Abu Dhabi coming up this year.
Yeah, he's definitely a top level guy, fun to watch, and I've had the pleasure of having a seminar with him. So I can't wait.
Yep, really good time next week, guys.
You know, we do get a lot of questions about how to get a BJJ brick patch, and they're pretty easy to get. They're free.
Yeah.
Easy to get.
Yeah.
All you have to do is go on to iTunes, do a funny review for us. Just put in a review. Send us an email to bjjbrick@gmail.com to let us know it was you. That way we know you sent out put the review up there. And you will get yourself a nice BJJ brick patch. And you'll see them on our show notes there. You'll see a picture of it. And we've given away a lot, but we still want to give away some more. We appreciate everybody who gives us a review, and we just want to get our patch out there.
Yep. I've learned something about the reviews, is we only see the reviews that are from the United States, Gary. But I got on this little thing where they send me reviews that are international. Some guy from Australia wrote a review.
Awesome.
And he said, like, I stumbled upon this brick a few weeks ago. So that was pretty cool.
That's neat. Yeah. And speaking of that, too, we get this question a lot, too, is what really is the BJJ brick? And I know we've talked about it a couple times, but I don't think we've talked about it in a couple weeks. What we say the brick is when you have a really great move, something that you can just pull out anywhere. You know, it's like you're just getting smashed by it, and you're rolling with somebody, and all of a sudden he grabs that Kimura grip, and you're like, oh man, I'm done. Or he grabs, as Roy Marsh would do, that guillotine grip. Oh man, I'm done. You just got smashed by the brick. The brick is that great move there.
Yeah, it's important to work on making a few bricks for yourself, and that way you have a technique that if you're a white belt, you could try to get a blue belt with, you know, or the next belt up. That's something that I've worked on a lot, Gary. I know you're the same way. You've got your killer Kimura, and he's got some really crazy good footlocks. So
it's always good to have a brick, and it's good to have a BJJ brick patch.
Sew it on your gi and send us a picture of that at bjjbrick@gmail.com. We'll be happy to hear from you. Also, our Facebook page. Just type in BJJ Brick, it'll pop right up. Gary, you said you're waving like you have a really good idea. What do you got?
You know, I just thought of something to give away a couple patches, and for somebody who stayed on after the Submission 902 interview. How about this week only? Let's say the first two people who go to our Facebook page and just send us a message, or not a
comment on the show.
Yeah, comment on the show, but tell us what your brick is. Just say Kimura. My brick is a Kimura. My brick is a knee bar. My brick is incredible side pressure. Just tell us what that is. And then send us also send us an email afterwards. Tell us who you are.
Or I'll get a hold of them. I'll message them, I guess.
We'll do that.
Or we can do that and get your address. I guess just for the U.S. because of the postage kind of gets crazy everywhere else.
So the first two people who comment and tell us what their brick is.
Yep. On the show, on Facebook.
On Facebook.
On this particular post. So
That'll be fun.
If there's already 2 up there, you're a little late, and I guess this is rewarding people who listen to it on Monday.
Yeah.
I guess. So that's cool.
So going back to that's why it's important to subscribe to our newsletter.
Yep. You don't miss anything. All right. Well, Gary, we talked a lot about Canada today, but if you're ever in Wichita, Kansas, which is a little ways away from Canada, hit us up with an email or message on Facebook. We'd be happy to train with you.
Definitely. We'd love it. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for Rafael Lovato Jr. It's going to be a great show.
All right. Catch you next week, guys.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.